Hi everyone, welcome back to MacBreak Studio Live. Here with Steve Martin. The Steve Martin, not that imposter who tells jokes and stuff like that. And Mark Spencer, of course. Hey Mark.
Alex.
And we, you know, the timing is impeccable. I think Apple has timed this just really, really well. We launched these live streams when Apple was launching Final Cut.
Yeah, like 2 days after the launch of Final Cut Pro 10.
It was a few days.
I think it was 2 days after.
Yeah.
And here we are.
2 days after.
2 days after
an
Apple
update. And we haven't planned it. You know, we'd like to say that we planned it, that we worked on it, but we haven't. Yeah. But anyway, so we've got a new update.
Yes, we do.
And some people are excited. Some people are still like, rah, rah, rah. But I think most people are excited about it.
Well, the ratings on the App Store went to 4.5, and from well,
like 2 something, but to be fair, the ratings on the App Store are.
We talk politics?
No, I was just it's just like Final Cut, was having the same trouble. I'm just saying that Obama has a chance now because Final Cut was having trouble. They had some approval rating problems, and all they did was an update. So we just have to figure out how to update things.
Well, what the App Store does, it shows you all the ratings for the latest version of the product.
Oh, I see.
So
it's a new product.
History is history,
right?
But the new update's being very well received.
Yes. So what is in the new update? What's the most important thing that's in the new update?
Well, I have my little cheat sheet here on my iPhone. There's a lot.
We're supposed to know this by heart.
Well, I mean, I do. But look,
he just gave a big presentation last night.
Yeah,
in LA.
I have, I'm ADD. Turn. So
yeah, exactly.
No, look, the big thing here is XAM support. Let's just talk about that for a moment. XAM.
So what's
not just XAN, SAN, Storage Area Network.
So Storage Area Network, and this has been a big deal because there have been a lot of large organizations that really use these shared resources to keep all their files and everything else, and the new Final Cut kind of cut them off.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that was one of the beefs against the version 10 was that there was no way to mount a SAN volume. The only volume you could mount in Final Cut 10 was a HFS Plus formatted. So if it wasn't that, then you wouldn't see it show up in the event library.
Right.
See, now there's a menu item that just says, locate SAN, and there it shows up.
Yeah. Handled.
And then you locate, and there it is. And of course, the beauty of SAN is that you have an environment like you just mentioned. There's a pool of computers that need to access the same event media. And that means that, let's say Mark and I were in 2 different Macs. Mark could actually capture right to the SAN, work, and then he could quit Final Cut, and then I could open his project. All the media is there. In fact, going further, he can actually capture, he can do his logging, his meta tagging, essentially set up everything, and then quit. And then on my Mac in my room, I open it up. Everything that he did will now appear on.
Which is great when you're talking, because a lot of larger organizations are going to have an assistant editor and the main editor.
Right.
And that is that's one of the keys to the operation, right?
Right. Now the thing I want to be clear about is that only one person can be working on one project at a time. So you can have multiple people writing to the same project file.
Right.
So the idea is this concept of checking in, checking out, kind of like the terminology we use for Final Cut Server. So when Mark was done working with that project, he would check out by quitting, and I would go and launch Final Cut on mine, and then everything he would show up.
Could they access the same event media?
Yes.
2 separate string outs or whatever, you do your own projects, separate projects accessing the same event media simultaneously.
Absolutely. Okay. And here's something else that's interesting. With the SAN, you don't have unlike Final Cut 10 where all of the event and projects had to be at the top level root of the drive.
Right.
Not so in a SAN. You can create separate subfolders. They can be in any folder nested down.
So you can do all the things that you would normally do in that kind of environment.
Correct.
Where you set up rules and who gets what and who has access to what, and you don't have to leave it wide open.
Yep.
So does Final Cut Pro 10 automatically recognize them? Like, you launch it and it sees all events and projects immediately. Will it do that with the SAN as well?
Yeah, if you have a mounted SAN volume, or you can actually do Final Cut Pro 10. We could pull it up. There's just a simple menu item in the file menu that says mount SAN volume. So you can look for it.
So SAN is going to be important for some of the larger groups. Now, the question really is with the people who are using SAN, are they really going to be the ones that have already started moving over to Final Cut 10? I mean, obviously we want to see that feature, but I think that one of the challenges really is that a lot of those folks are still hanging on to Final Cut 7 because they still don't have some of their other features. Like we didn't see multicam editing yet.
Well, yeah, well, it says on their website right here.
Coming.
It says multicam early, what does it say? Look at this right here, multicam.
Early 2012.
Coming early 2012.
What does that mean?
Well, I think it means
before June.
I think January 2nd.
The optimist and the pessimist, right here.
Exactly.
Oh, there I am.
Somewhere between the two. I'll split them.
I like to be a
Right,
happily
exactly.
surprised pessimist rather than an often discouraged optimist.
So, Steve, Final
Yes.
Cut's up and running.
Oh, look at that.
File menu,
Nice.
add sand location.
There it is. There it is.
Look at
Add sand
that.
location. And remove sand location. What's nice about that is if you have client-sensitive material that you not want others access to, you can choose remove sand location and
So someone else walks up to your
yeah,
computer.
and I don't want them seeing all this stuff on that sand. Boom,
Right.
takes it offline.
Yeah, very
I think that's nifty.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we have a couple. Now, by the way, if you're watching and you've got questions, there is a place to ask questions, and you can ask them. And if you log in, you can actually vote them up and down. And I'm just going to be answering the ones at the top. So if you're not, if you're asking the questions and not voting, and you feel like we're asking the wrong questions, well, you got to ask one, and you got to vote them in. So go up to the little ask questions there, log in, put your email, do all the other stuff, and check it. We've got one here, and this is from Michael Roberts. It said, "Hey Steve." Hey Steve.
Hey, Mike.
Are you going to offer updates to your already published Final Cut 10 training that covers the new and future Final Cut 10 updates? Keep up the great work.
Short answer, yes.
Okay, there we go. Next question, and then we'll jump back into this. Behaviors missing in motion. This is from Connor Crosby. I know that this isn't really Final Cut Pro 10, but have you heard or experienced any issues with Motion 5 missing some behaviors in the library tab? It seems I seem to be missing depth of field.
There's no depth of, the depth of field camera behavior should be there.
So we don't know.
I have not seen any problems. The answer is I have not seen any problems with behaviors that you use in Motion 4 showing up in Motion 5.
There you go.
If you see a problem with that, you may need to, the easiest thing is trash the app and re-download it from the App Store.
Right.
And get
Which
everything
is
back.
awesome, by the way.
It is awesome. The whole thing in one.
You know,
Oh, I have a little story. I was presenting in Los Angeles last night, and was it last? Yeah, just last night. I forget where I am. And they had no internet connection at all. And so, well, we'll just use wireless, or we'll use a USB, which was taking forever. It's like, no, I'll just target disk mode into the computer. By the way, target disk mode is when you firewire between two Macs, holding down the T key, boot off one Mac, and then the hard drive of that Mac appears on the other one.
It just looks like a hard
Oh
drive.
yeah, it makes this entire Mac on a hard drive, and what's great is, and then I just drug the Final Cut, Motion, and Compressor apps out of my apps folder into the target machine, and they all opened and they all worked. I mean, this is so much better than days of Final Cut Studio where you couldn't do that with Final Cut because there's resources and then receipts and I mean,
you never knew it was
you never
uninstalled.
know. There was like a million little things,
Yeah.
What I call little app droppings.
Yeah. Well, and having them totally self-contained,
Right?
and having the, I have to say that the installs of being able to set this up. I had to reset up a computer last week, and I can just go install. That is.
Or even with the update, I noticed like on my laptop, everything just showed up on the App Store in updates. Boom, came down. On my Mac Pro. Motion didn't show up in the update, like what's going on. So then I go to the Purchases tab in the App Store, and there it is. Click Install, and it says, sorry, you've already got it. But just trash the app. Right. And I was nervous about it. Trash the app. That's my existing. I don't have the new one yet. You want me to throw this one away, and I'm empty-handed for a little while, but trash the app. New one comes down perfectly.
The whole App Store thing is just brilliant. I mean, the whole implementation of it. I mean, think about it. A major update 3 months after the product was released.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that none of the other manufacturers are going to be able to touch.
Yeah, it's easy. Before that, it was just really a process to get that going.
Yeah.
So now I think that I don't know, Carolyn. I'm not sure what happened, but some of the questions seem to disappear. The ones that we were still looking to answer. So. Oh, they weren't questions. She was cleaning them up. I saw just the top of other questions.
We have no
So if
questions.
you have questions, go ahead and ask them into the question area there. We have one we just finished there, but if you have any questions, make sure to ask us.
So a couple of things that are on the top of the list in terms of the media stem support.
Sorry?
Media stems? They
Yeah,
call it media
stem.
stems.
So what is a media stem?
Media stem
Is
is
kind of like a flower that you cut off?
Yes.
Stem.
It's a stem. Basically, it's a term that in post-production where, let's say you're working in a broadcasting facility or you're making a film, you need to provide separate dialogue, music, and effects because you have foreign distribution or you want to be able to control what tracks are actually distributed,
Right.
because maybe some music has domestic rights, some has international. You want to be able to essentially control what content, audio content, goes out. And it's also a term used for, let's say, digital audio guys, when they want stems so they can do their final mixing. So it's a common industry term. And what Final Cut Pro introduced, Final 10, is the ability to create stems based on metadata and based on what this new construct that's called roles, R-O-L-E-S. So all your clips now have a role. They're assigned a role, such as music effects or dialogue, and then Final Cut Pro tracks it through the system. It's really slick.
So basically, you're able to kind of connect it and say all of these things are grouped together, and then all of these things are grouped together.
Correct.
And so when you hit export, you can send them all out.
Yeah. In fact, let's take a look really quick.
You want to?
Yeah,
you can
I'm
drive
going to
here.
go ahead and drive. And this is it's pretty easy to get your head around what's going on here. I'm going to go ahead and open up this project right here. Just a second. And one of the things about Final Cut Pro 10, of course, is if you're new to it, is that there's no tracks. Okay, I mean there's clips, which we call clips on your primary store, and these are all what are called connected clips. And by just looking at this, if I scroll up, it's hard for me to tell at first glance. Well, what are these? Because in a typical track-based environment or metaphor, it's easy. You know, dialogue is always like 1, 1, and 2 because it's close to the video, and then the effects are in the next section down. Music. So a lot of people like tracks because organizationally it makes sense.
Right.
And so this is kind of a little odd. Well, things are all over the place. I don't know where they are. But the beauty of this is that all these clips come in with a roll tag. They come in off the camera, they come in off of sound effects library, they come off of music library, they're already appropriately tagged. And even if they're mistagged, they can be tagged after the fact. Yeah.
So they automatically try.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that shocked me at first because I opened up an existing project and all the clips had been tagged as roles with roles. Like, wow, and it got most of them right, and a few of them it didn't get right. I couldn't figure out. I wanted to get rid of them, and then Steve explained to me, no, everything has to have a role.
Right.
And you can choose what it is.
We all have to have a role.
We all have a role.
I'm a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to hit shortcut, hit like Command F because I can't see the button from this side because that monitor is breaking. But there we go. This is called the index, timeline index, and you have your clips, and you have your tags, and then you have this new little button here called roles.
Right.
So what's interesting is if you really want to see your effects, so like your effects are maybe music, dialogue, you just click. Like I just clicked on dialogue, and then it highlights everything that's dialogue. If I click this, it highlights everything that's music.
Right.
And what's really nice about that is you can quickly visually see, okay, which ones are which. See? Or yeah.
Now if you want it, what's the best way so that this is a problem that I have. So I build an edit and I want to cut it up into 6 different little bits to. Now if I wanted to do that, could I set up the video and the audio, each one as a role? Or would you set those, is it really setting up tracks? Because the problem is what's the easiest way?
When you set up, you want it like.
So let's say I have one long clip.
Okay.
And I want to cut it into 6 segments.
Right.
And trim them all and then export out each segment individually.
So you want a standalone movie from those?
From each one. What's the easiest way to do that?
Segments of a whole timeline where each segment has lots of clips in it. So sort of like in and out points?
It doesn't necessarily, let's just say I have one long video.
Yeah.
And I just cut it 6 times. And I want to send out 6 videos out of each one of them. What's the easiest way to do that?
Range-based keywording? Drop those in?
No, because the thing about Final Cut 10, what it doesn't do, like Final Cut 7, is it allow you to set, all right, I want this clip, set an in and out point, export the in and out point.
Right.
There's a couple ways. One is you could send it to compressor, which then would allow you to set your in and out points.
I don't want to do that.
Okay, so then, all right. So
you know why, though? Do you know why I don't want to use it in compressor?
Tell me why, Alex.
JKL. No JKL in compressor.
Are you sure?
I don't know. It didn't work the other day. I was trying.
Well, it's supposed to work.
Yeah,
JKL is in there.
Because I was like, oh, I can do this all in compressor. And I was like,
no, it's supposed to be JKL should be in there.
Okay.
But okay, that aside, here's something that might be interesting. The screen's a little dark, but I'm going to go to something like I can see. Let's see. I'm clicking on an event here, and it's
the planet.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Lots of clips in that one, huh? All right, let's go to this one, there's a bunch of clips there. There's Rainn Wilson from The Office. Yes. Anyway, so one thing that might be interesting is I'm working on this new workflow. Let's try this. Let's create a compound clip.
Okay.
Okay. And basically what it is an empty container. I'm just going to say, I don't know, what would you, we can call it whatever we want. But let's say that's the one you wanted to export. So I'm going to just for fun, I'm going to call this Alex1, okay? And I'm going to click OK, save that guy. And look at that, see that little empty compound clip?
Yep.
Okay, watch this. This is awesome. It's essentially a timeline that's completely separate from project. That's not a project, that's a timeline. So I can say, all right, maybe that's a clip I want to export, right? So I'm going to drag that whole thing in here, right? There it is, okay? Now it's, I guess what I'm saying is this is now a separate compound clip with one clip in it. And because it's that, you can now trim this, because you were mentioning that.
Right, so now, if I wanted to cut this into like 3 segments, would I create compound clips out of each segment?
What I would do, this is what I would do, is, okay, let's just say this is one, because you're going to chop it up a little bit.
Let's say I'm chopping this one up. Let's say I brought this in and I want to chop it into 3 pieces.
Okay, so we're going to get the blade tool and chop, okay? Okay. So switch back. So you could see here, there's 3 pieces there, right? Yep. Okay. And maybe in one version you want to maybe switch the order or something, or you just want
to... No, I just want that middle piece to be exported by itself.
Okay. Go say where, again, the screen's kind of dark here. Where's that? Oh, that one, that compound clip there. I believe that's the compound clip right there.
You can see
so you can see the badge. If you hit, it's a command for duplicate. It's a Command D. It's a Command D. There it is. Now I'm going to open this one, which is an exact duplicate of compound clip. Okay. See now, so what I'm going to do is like, okay, I want to now export that. I'm going to go back. This is how I would do it. So I get open up this one. I want to export that section. Okay. So these 2 compound clips have 2 different clips in them. Okay. And so now I want to export that piece, share, export media, and then that's it. Yes, it seems to be a few steps.
That doesn't seem like a real pain in the neck.
There's no other way to do it other than sending it to compressor.
Yes, that is my point.
Yes, it is your point.
Sorry. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me. Like I was sitting there going, because here's the question we have. We have a question
wait. Okay, one other thing before we go away. The other thing is, if you press V, you know, what does V do? It disables. Right? So like, there you go. It's not going to.
And will that only export that?
Yeah, she'll only export that.
Okay.
That's the other.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that it's one of those things that we'd love to see in Final Cut 10.2 or something. There's some way to set it up where I'm going to break these up. I will say that breaking up in compressor actually works really well. If you have one long piece and you don't have to do any real trimming other than in and out points, importing one in and then going, like what's great is you bring one in and then you duplicate it a whole bunch of times.
Right.
And then you set a whole bunch of different in and out points and then you hit export, and that actually works pretty well.
It's kind of what he was doing there.
Yeah, so I get that, but I find it to be very chunky to do it in compressor when I'm in a rush. And sometimes there's a mixture of things that I have to do. I have to not only clip them a little bit, but I got to fix a couple things, and I got to cut a couple things out. So bringing them just into here is a little.
You got to be done when you're in compressor.
And so it's a little.
I'm just throwing a setting on here so I can. I sent that project over to compressor. And I apply, and then what I did is and then see you have this playhead over here, and then you can move this and then set I and O, which is but you said that JKL would work, so I want to find out if it doesn't.
See, but it's doing one by frame. It's not playing.
Yeah,
it's not playing. Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, there it is.
I was wrong.
Okay, it's playing. Okay, pause. Now J, right?
See, look, it's still going. Still going. This is the problem.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
it's playing, but you're not seeing the update.
It's like it's taking over.
Well, that's not supposed to do that.
Okay. Okay, now it's playing. See, but that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So in other words, out of runaway playhead.
Yeah, it's a runaway playhead. That's the problem. So there's just a button, and so now hopefully.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't.
But look, in the documentation it says that JKL works, and in version 3.5 that worked perfectly.
Exactly. So this is a little bug that we hope that we see fixed, because because bringing stuff in and clipping it all in compressor is actually pretty straightforward if you could do that.
If you can do it, if you can JKL.
The fastest place to clip something, if all you have to do is clip it, is still QuickTime 7.
Now I think we want to get back to roles for a second. I know that you.
Let's go back to our roles. Let's get back into the role of you being the expert and me being Yahoo. Tell me about roles.
Well, what I want to do is get back to the project library, which was Command.
Because you can't see the button.
I can't see the button.
Luckily, you got your keyboard shortcuts down cold.
I do.
It's all about the
keyboard shortcuts is important because this is where I started, right? And so I'm looking at music and then dialogue, and it's interesting. There's all my music. You can see it's highlighted.
And now
here.
you have these roles. These roles, the titles, dialogue, music. Those are all something that's automatic, right?
Right.
It brings those in.
And
now, can you make up your own?
Yeah. Let's look at that. Under the modified menu, there's you'll see. We'll get into edit roles, but you can see here assign roles. You have dialogue, music, and effects, DM and E, right? So you can assign any clip and whatever you want, but it comes in already pre-assigned.
But it's interesting. It's not just for audio. There's video and titles up there too.
Video
it's
and
for
titles.
every clip,
It's
audio and video and
exactly.
titles, not just audio and video.
Yeah.
And the titles.
Look
the
at
titles
this.
have alpha channels.
Well, they do. And let me go ahead. So if I select these titles, which I'm going to command click, you can select these, and then you can go up here under modify and say assign roles. See, those are checked. It's already assigned. It already knows your titles.
Yeah.
It says, I got an alpha channel in
Right.
there. That's got to be a title.
But where it gets really interesting is then you can create what are called sub roles. Like within that title category, you can make titles that say these are my Spanish, or these are my lower thirds, or these are what have you.
And that was actually a question. One of the things that someone asked here. It's not quite the top question here,
Right.
but Connor Crosby asked, is it possible to apply more than one role to media in the timeline?
Absolutely.
So sub roles would be.
Well,
Can
yeah. Did you want? I'm sorry, Mark. Did you want to say something?
No, you do. You can't actually apply like both dialogue and music to the same clip.
No.
You can assign different roles to different instances of the same clip. You know, the event, and if it occurs multiple
in fact,
times.
if you needed it to do that, I mean, that's what's nice about if you go to edit roles, you'll see here is an edit role window. You have video. There's no sub roles yet. These is the top level. You said video. I think you know what that says. Titles.
DME.
Yeah, DME right down here. But then let's say you needed a special category. Like for example, let's say I had a whole category of sound effects, like this hospital scene. I had a whole. I wanted to create a role for a whole group of things called hospital sound effects.
Right.
I can get granular by saying, okay, I'm going to click this plus, and it'll say, do you want to add a new audio or a video role? You see, I could say I want to add a new audio role, and then you can double click on this and highlight it, and then go ahead. I can actually say, I can hardly see here. Hospital. Boy, it's I guess I'm getting old. Hospital FX. Okay, so I've created a top level role. Mm-hmm. And so what I could do now is I can go down here now. If I wanted these grouped that way, I can select them. By the way, notice how they're highlighted. One little thing you need to know is that to unselect them or unhighlight them, you got to click off the items in the index.
Right.
Okay. So if that index were closed and those things were selected, you wouldn't really know what's going on.
Right. So what I'm going to do is these are effects here. So I'm going to select these effects by command clicking and then go back up to modify and say assign roles. And you'll notice it says hospital. I hope I spelled that. I can't tell. I probably didn't.
Yep,
but select it. And now under effects, I have I now have hospital effects. These are grouped by a specific name now. And notice, look at this. I can disable them and enable them with one checkbox.
Right.
And also what's nice is a lot of times it's QC. If you're delivering for broadcast, you want to make sure you include everything. You didn't leave out an effect, you didn't leave something, or maybe you want to leave something out. What's interesting is once you've done the QC, you can go through and you can minimize this button. Say, okay, minimize it. Say, all right, it's almost like a visual. Like I've already looked at those. Those are already been kind of grouped as that.
Right.
So it gives you a quick, again, much quicker read than tracks and looking up and down and seeing what's what. I think it's much easier.
I think it is. I think, I was pushing a little bit on compressor, but what I will say is that the fluidness, the thing that and this is a question that we have at the top of our list here right now, is that I'm starting to incorporate more and more Final Cut 10 into my projects.
Right.
And I just find on the projects that it's working on, so I'm not using it for multicam yet because obviously it's not there yet.
Early 2011.
Early 2011. I'm bated breath. Can you smell it? Bated breath. I think it smells a lot like tuna. So anyway, I will say that it is frighteningly fast. Like when I'm doing the stuff that I'm now doing in Final Cut 10. So the question is that so this is from Chris Northcross. He said, I'm curious as to how you guys are using Final Cut 10 in your workflows. Is it usable for your projects right now?
Oh,
yeah.
That's
all you guys use.
Well, yeah. In fact, I only go back to Final Cut 7 when I need to, when I have to do something that's not in Final. I don't really do much multicam, but Mark and I and you, we're all embarking on a job starting tomorrow. We're shooting this big Vineyard
promotional
video. We're shooting it all in DSLRs. We're shooting it, and we're gonna do everything in Final Cut 10. I mean, there's nothing in Final Cut Pro 10 that would prevent us from producing a fully professional product.
And when it's working, be faster.
And even faster.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Fast. Yeah, absolutely. And that's been my thing, is that when it's on the stuff that I've been working on, where it fits into that puzzle. Yeah. Oh, you just, it's so fast. And you suddenly you're just.
And when you wrap your head around this whole metadata, because these roles are just an extension of the same idea, that you no longer organize media based on location. Because you used to have a browser with bins, and you would locate your media into bins. Now it's based on metadata. And instead of having tracks where you organize your media based on location on a track, you just forget about that. It's just based on the metadata. It doesn't matter where it is. It does not matter where it is. Yeah. It's just tagged right.
In fact, that's Apple's story. It's all about metadata now.
Yeah, and it was a lot. I felt like I was in the same boat when I was learning Shake. It was like Shake. I was very like, oh, I don't understand. There's no layers. I don't know what to do. I don't know how it's supposed to work. And then of course, once you get used to it, you don't want to go back to layers. So I think it's very much the same. What else is new?
What else is new? Okay. XML, we should probably talk about that. It says rich, not poor, rich XML. Oh,
can I ask you just to close the loop on this, because you started with stems and you went into this. Can you just show how you can actually get these different roles out separately?
Yeah, really good question, or really good point, Mark. Is that at the end of the day, in fact, this is how you started, is go to the share menu. There's now an export media command. That used to be export movie. Now it's export media. And
20-something selected.
Yeah, it's like. Let me check. Click in here, and the mouse is there. We go. Export media, and you'll have a new menu in here once you see the export window pop up. And this is where all the magic happens. Down here, roles as multi-track QuickTime movie, and what it'll essentially take is your dialogue, music, and effects, and your titles, whatever you have rolled out, whatever has been rolled out, as it were, and it will actually embed them into one QuickTime movie.
With all the layers.
Everything's there.
Separate tracks.
All separate tracks within the QuickTime movie.
And of course you can see all those tracks in Final Cut 10. Oh
no, Final Cut 7 Pro.
You can't see it in Final Cut 10.
Well, that's why Final Cut 7 Pro is it Final. No, excuse me. QuickTime 7 is an important thing to have in your toolbox.
QuickTime 7 is the real QuickTime. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know that someone from the QuickTime team is probably watching this. And I just want to apologize, but I still want to say that. We just want QuickTime. I mean, I don't understand why they took all my tools away. So
I have to admit, I use QuickTime 7 Pro constantly.
So the first thing I do when I get to a new computer is I open up a QuickTime. I hit Command Info, and I say Open with QuickTime 7, and then I hit Copy to all, like affect all.
Affect everything.
When I double click, I don't want to see anything.
I drag its icon onto the Finder bar, so it's always right there, so I can just drag stuff directly onto it.
But I change the.
That's smart.
I just go into the info. I change it for one, and I change it all the way across.
I actually tattooed the QuickTime 7 logo on.
No. I've thought about it.
Now this is interesting. It says the next one is roles as separate files. Those are your stems.
Right.
Okay. Instead of the stems being embedded into one QuickTime movie, you'll get separate files. Now, the people that were kind of complaining and bitching about, hey, I can't give anything to my Pro Tools guy.
And if there's nothing between stuff, it's just a big dark, just quiet space.
Yeah, that's exactly like you'll notice the effects, like right here where the effects come in a little bit later. It'll just be quiet until that particular effect
Now,
comes
when
in.
those effects come in, are they coming in as a multi-track? Or are they coming in as just a stereo file that is on and off?
It's a track per roll, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a single track per roll.
Yeah, right. It'll be if the effect is stereo, it'll be a stereo stem.
Right, but so it's not good. But if I have, like, for instance, if I'm sitting with rolls and I've got 4 different tracks and some of them are over top of each other, and I export that out, they're all just going to be
mashed together. They will be mashed together.
Yes. Okay. Because they're not tracks.
And then that's why you would want to create sub-rolls if you needed them to have.
Will sub-rolls be exported separate?
It should be,
tracks?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you see you can say video rolls. You can export video rolls only as separate files or audio rolls as separate files. So it's
great.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Now we got more questions that are starting to roll in here. Let me. This is from Eric Emmerich. He said, please explain how the change in transition application with regard to primary and secondary storylines.
You're talking about the new feature called one-click transition? Mark just talked about that today in MacBreak Studio. So you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay.
I can do it on your timeline.
It's a little hard to see.
You can demo it there if you've got. Is that whole thing
let's
a connected storyline?
Okay, I think that's a connect. Let's break that up. Break apart clip items.
Yeah. Shift Command G.
Yeah, it's Shift Command G. There. All right. Now let's talk about this as a. Let's talk about this for a moment. So these are connected clips, right? And I'll let you take it from there because.
Well, just previously, before 10.0.1, if you wanted to add a transition onto your primary storyline, no problem.
Right.
Just select an edit point, Command T, and it works.
Right.
If you wanted to add a transition to a connected clip,
like right
that
there.
Connected clip needed to be in its own storyline first. So you would first say Command G or make storyline,
right.
and then you could add a transition. What it does now is it does those steps automatically for you. So in other words, if you select an edit point, like you have an edit point here of a connected clip that is not part of a storyline,
correct.
Hit Command T, and you see it not only, it added the transition, but before that it actually created a storyline. See how you can select the box around there? That's actually a storyline. So it just, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but in terms of time saving, it is a huge deal.
You're doing a lot of it.
Right, right.
Yeah, you don't have to, it's in fact, that little bar along the top is called the shelf, and that's why, and the shelf allows you to move the whole thing as a unit. So, anyway,
so you can very quickly, and like if you have a whole bunch, let's say you have a bunch of clips that you have on a secondary, that are connected clips that are also abutting each other, you can add transitions to all of them and create a storyline in one shot. Select them all, Command T, transitions will be across all of them. It'll be grouped as a storyline that you can move.
Yeah, so you can
so
actually
it's just nice and fast.
Yeah, so you're saying take these, and select them all. Like that, and hit what happens there, Command T. Look at that.
Yeah, transitions,
Bam.
and it's part of its own.
That's one-click transition. We click, we selected, Command T.
And of course, you can change what that default transition is from hitting Command T.
Right.
And but it's nice. It's a nice.
What's also nice is a lot of people don't know that you can do that to audio too. If you select the edge of an audio and hit Command T, it'll do an audio fade transition real quickly on the.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you can grab onto it and just kind of.
Yeah, you can. Although I'm not crazy about doing it this way because. I prefer using these little handles to create fades because then you get, when you right click and you get the little
you get a little more control.
You get you get the fade type. So if you just do a straight dissolve, you're not going to get that. So
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other questions that we had here, can you apply more than the one role? We already answered that. Collaborative workflow on a SAN. This is from Nigel Chris. And he said, in a SAN environment, can multiple editors access the same events at the same time, but not projects? Correct.
Correct.
Okay, correct. Okay, great. So that's the so that's correct there. The another question here: bug fixes. This is from Lon Seidman. Can you speak to some of the bug fixes that have been made in this version? I had a huge problem with my motion-based lower thirds in Final Cut 10 getting stuck intermittently during export and when previewing. So far, it appears to be working correctly again. Any other bug fixes? Any other big gotchas that got ironed out?
I've seen things a little smoother, a little faster, but there's no. Okay, here's one. Generators. In Final Cut Pro 10 before the update, when you added with drop zones, so a generator with a drop zone from the generator's browser or ones that you create yourself, or Motion 4 project saved as generators for Final Cut Pro 10, any of those situations, when you dropped video in those drop zones, the video did not play.
That's right. I remember
you just got a still frame. Yeah. Okay, that's fixed.
Great.
So that's sort of a major fix.
Another major fix is titles. Remember when you created a title and you wanted to edit, you got the
inline and you couldn't move it.
Yeah, inline. Well, this is
this title is actually a layout of a paragraph, so it's not a good example. But if the layout for the title is set to a normal text layout, in Lion, you couldn't move the position of the title
and that's been fixed
on the canvas. Yeah.
There's a couple of other things I have to, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but yeah.
And a couple things that aren't working now.
Yeah.
Like what?
We get some, we lose some.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, I don't know how consistent. We've tested on 3 or 4 or 5 machines now. We made an 8-point garbage mat. that has on-screen controls using the.
It was an awesome mat.
Yeah.
Right.
And those on-screen controls no longer appear in Final Cut Pro 10. They're gone. Now other effects do have them.
Right? I mean, we should show that garbage mat. It's pretty nifty.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. We'll see if it shows up.
And custom.
Yeah, there it is.
So there's the set the mat right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's throw the 8-point garbage mat on this guy right here.
Select it. Yeah, go to open the inspector just so we can see that it's applied.
Yeah. And we'll click OK. Is this?
Yeah, so it's there, but there should be 8 on-screen controls on the canvas for manipulating the points of the garbage mat.
They're just
and those have disappeared. And
so there's 8 points there. You just
can't see them anymore.
You grab them and move them around. So that might have been something in motion, right? Because this is.
It's something between the two.
Okay.
It's something between the two. Because I tested a few other built-in effects that have on-screen controls, and those appear. So it might be that particular filter that was used.
Right.
So to be determined. Plus, we're having some trouble with the previews, skimming the previews in the
Oh
browsers.
yeah, see, like right now.
That's working.
Let's look at the effects.
That one's working.
That one's working. I'm sorry.
How about that?
Let's go to all, and then let's see.
Okay,
yeah,
they're working now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Earlier. Okay. Good.
Maybe that's okay.
Excellent.
That's my favorite effect, the frame. A big white frame.
Every
video should use that. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Another question here, roles again. This is from Eric Emmerich again. Once I've selected clips via roles, can I apply an effect or filter to them?
Sure.
So
because a role is just a meta tag. That's just a variation.
Right,
but I guess the question is, when you select a role in the timeline index and they all highlight, are they actually selected? So if you drag an effect, will it apply to all of them at the same time?
I think if that's how you interpret it, that's awesome.
That's how I interpreted it. Maybe try it with like if you choose video.
I don't think that it's. I think it's just for visual see.
That would be awesome, though, wouldn't it?
Let's see.
No.
It looks like it's. Well, try it. Drop it on and see if it actually. Because you'd think the highlight would appear on all of them.
No, there it is.
What happens if you?
That's artifacts. Then we go to this one.
Nope. Yeah.
No, it's just to identify what the roles are.
Right.
That's all it is.
Got it.
Okay.
Other new stuff.
Other new stuff. I think we need to talk a little bit about rich XML support.
Made out of gold.
Yes, rich XML versus
gold
poor XML support. Yes, rich.
So what does rich mean?
It means in this context, it means robust. It means the ability to help make you lots of money because you can now.
You would be rich if you use XML.
What it doesn't mean is all of a sudden you can bring your Final Cut Pro 7 projects into Final Cut Pro 10.
Well, there's different.
That would be filthy rich.
It may enable it down the road. It may enable that.
Well,
to
a lot
happen.
of people are confused about what XML is,
Yes.
and maybe we should have just a little bit of a primer, like what are we talking about? What
it all starts with a text file.
It does. It all starts with a text. XML is just a way of describing data, really.
Right.
Okay. And the thing is, Final Cut 7 has its own way of describing the data,
right?
And Final Cut 10 has its own way of describing the data. And that's in simple terms. Other applications can read this text file and how this data is described, and then properly interpret it, so then it can then use that data.
Right.
So, for example, with the rich XML support, high-end apps like Autodesk Smoke and DaVinci Resolve can now essentially read the Final Cut 10 XML, and you can effectively open Final Cut Pro projects in those apps.
Very important.
It's huge.
If you want to be integrating with a professional pipeline, you have to, like the really high-end stuff, you have to be able to support that.
Absolutely.
Very good.
So, but you're right though. There's this one software that was demoed the other day for me, and it was called CatDV. It's a media database. It's very much like a Final Cut server. It's an asset management, and everyone's going to asset management and meta tagging. That's the way it's going now. And the thing about CatDV that was so impressive is that it creates these little metadata sidecar files, so that you can then tag all this stuff, and then when you import that from CatDV, all of that meta tag information comes right into Final Cut Pro 10.
Wow.
Yes.
That's great.
And in fact, I've actually seen this where Final Cut Pro, where CatDV translated the 7 to 10, and I saw it open a Final Cut 7 sequence in Final Cut 10 using CatDV. I saw it. It's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Well, the reason I'm saying this, here's why I'm saying this, is that, look, this open XML is huge because there's probably somebody out there right now that's going, oh, I get it. Okay, and they're writing a translation thing right now. Granted, they're not going to be able to translate everything because the XML between 7 and 10 are so radically different. There's just going to be things that are quote unquote lost in translation. But if the cuts are there, dissolves are there, I mean, the constructs of the story and what have you, that
Wes,
again,
we need Wes. Wes Plate.
Yes.
Wes, if you're watching now,
maybe even Philip Hodgetts is working on something.
Yes, or maybe. Possibly.
Well, he gets it. I call him the little metadata prophet.
Yeah. Well, Wes knows a little bit about it, but Phil or Wes, we don't care. You guys duke it out because we will buy both. Anyway, so rotoscoping. Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Chris Northcross again.
Hey, Chris.
He said, can you address what the updates in Motion 5 are? The most notable for me is being able to use 2 monitors.
That is the most notable, and that is about all there is to say about that.
2 monitors, okay, we're done.
I would say there's bug fixes,
but
in terms of new features, it's dual monitor support.
Which is important if you're doing.
It's important. It's my experience of it so far is that when you do dual monitor support, that means you can take either your timing pane or your canvas and put it to a second monitor. And when you do so, it fills that monitor. It's full screen. There's no sort of option to sort of share it with some other things at all. And at least I only have 2 monitors, but I have a buddy who has 3, and he wanted to send it to his other monitor, and it would not do that. It would only go to a specific monitor.
We gave you 2.
But it's good. It's good. It's very good. So you can bring up your whole, your keyframe editor, your whole timeline on a second monitor, your whole canvas.
And I love getting my timeline on a second carrier.
Yeah.
Like I love being focused and having the timeline.
It's very good. And then I've just heard reports. I see generally it seems to work very well. I've heard several people say better performance. But performance is so dependent on the type of project you're using that it's a little hard to say that it's going to be X% better. It really depends. Right. But that's about it.
Okay. This is from Robert Bale. He said, hi, question. Watched your training, Steve. You talk about H.264 transcoding to ProRes, but others are saying it's better to leave it as H.264. Why?
I couldn't disagree with that more. I mean, it's just wrong. Whoever's saying that is just outright wrong. Okay.
Tell us how you really think.
Let's see. Let me think about it. It's just wrong. The reason is H.264 is not a production codec. It's a delivery codec. It's missing what essentially are the iframes, which edit systems are really happy with. The edit systems like Final Cut Pro, Premiere, all of them want iframe data for every frame.
Every frame has all the information.
That's every frame has all. In other words, in H.264, you're right. There's iframes that have to rely. That don't. Well, excuse me.
What happens if you edit an H.264?
What happens is that you get very sluggish playback. You get you get skipping. You get when you have to render more. It's not optimal. In fact, Final Cut's not really optimized for. I mean, it'll play it, and you could put it in there, and it'll play. But it's not optimal for it. I mean, ProRes. Look, the thing about ProRes is that
it's faster.
What is?
If you already have an H.264 file, isn't it fast? And you just want to do a couple little cuts. Okay. Now, if you're going to build a whole project,
of course. But what a lot of people don't understand, and I do. This is one of my little bailiwicks that I go little tangents, because people don't understand it. Exactly. I really want to point this out. When I go into import, it says create optimized media and create. This is important. If you're shooting on a DSLR like Mark and I are about to do, it's H.264 media. Now the beauty of that is you could import that right away and start editing with it. Nothing's preventing you from that. But if you check this. Create optimize. What's happening is in the background when you're not even looking, it's turning into ProRes, and so
you're still editing.
You're still editing, but what you'll notice, what'll happen is that the performance will increase as you go along. You're like, this clip is playing a lot more snappier now. Well, that's
behind the scenes, it's unplugging from the H.264 as soon as the ProRes is running. It's plugging into that one.
That's exactly
and you don't have to do anything.
And to me, that's much smarter than the way the other manufacturers are doing. I mean. Other nonlinear editing systems that shall remain nameless but start with an A and end with an E say that ProRes native, that's what you should be doing. In fact, I've heard them say you need to be editing right off the media card. That's absurd. Why would you ever want to edit off a media card? This is a better thing because not only does it copy your H.264 media into the event library, if you so choose, if copy's selected up here, but it turns it into ProRes for you, and ProRes magically, and it's look, you know, as I said, it's my little soapbox, but ProRes is visually lossless. You're not going to see any difference between the ProRes version and the H.264. So I guess the only downside is, yes, the files are bigger. Right. Okay, that's the downside. Right. Is like H.264 is smaller, and like you said, if the project's small, go ahead and H.264 it. But if you're dealing with something that's fairly substantial,
it doesn't matter. Like, so if you bring it in as H.264 and you start cutting, and you end up finishing before it finishes transcoding, you can just go ahead and hit render. It'll render it out, right? I mean, does it need to finish transcoding before you export?
That's a really good question. I would think it would have to, in order to, if it's going to transcode the ProRes files instead of the H.264.
Well, it depends. It depends, really, because let me point something out about the share menu. When you choose this, let's say you have, let's say you dropped all your H.264 in there. Okay, you are right. It needs to all be turned into ProRes because when you choose export, all it's doing is taking the data and rewrapping it in a QuickTime wrapper. That export media is the fastest way to get content out because it just takes the whatever data it is. In this case, the ProRes media rewraps it, and there it is. But if the media isn't there to begin with, what's it wrapping?
Yeah.
So here's the question. Yeah. Okay, so export media.
Yeah.
So if I leave optimized media off,
right,
and I bring an H.264 in, an H.264 file,
right,
into Final Cut,
sure,
and then I say export media, is it going to export it out as it's going to rewrap it as an H.264?
No, it'll actually come out as ProRes.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Wait, I don't.
So let me show you. Let me show you. Okay. So if you go to.
Did you like that sound effect that I gave you?
Yeah. No.
That was the what the? See, here's a sound effect for those while he's looking.
Actually,
if that sound effect that I make, that is the clean version of WTF. If I just go, that's what I'm saying. I scramble it by moving my lips back and forth often.
Okay, so let's create a new project so you can see. I think I need to step back for a second. I'm going to create a new project, and you're going to get this window. Okay, now. Right now, the project is agnostic. In other words, it doesn't know what it is yet.
Right.
Okay, it says automatic. So in other words, it's going to base its setting on whatever the first clip you put into it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, but if you go into custom, then you can define the frame size. But what I wanted to show you is the render size. See, it says audio render properties. If you go into, by default, it says use these settings: surround 48, ProRes 422. This is what's going to come out of the timeline. Okay,
so
if you go to custom, you can then say, you know what, I want to pick my own flavor of ProRes.
But it's always ProRes.
But it's always ProRes.
Right. So when you hit export media, it's not like, so in Final Cut, in Final Cut 7,
right,
when you hit export, when you said save movie or export QuickTime,
it was just like export QuickTime movie with current properties,
with
current
properties.
Settings.
It would, whatever if you had it in photo JPEG, if you had it in whatever, it would just go, okay, I'm going to send that out the way it came in. In this case, if you hit export media, it's always going to give you some flavor of, so export media is not.
Yeah, so
it's always going to give you.
If I go to export movie now, and you can see here, you can override this. You can override it right here. You could say, look, current settings, and in this case, you can say there. If you want it to come out at H.264, then that's where you would set it.
But here's the question: is if you brought an H.264 in, and you didn't transcode it, and then you said to export as H.264,
current settings,
will it rewrap it or will it recompress it?
How could it not recompress H.264 when you've rearranged all your frames, your IPB frames?
That's why I'm asking. Because
I don't know how it could do
that. So because there's a little problem with H.264. There's a lot of problems with H.264, but it's a delivery format.
It is. Excuse me.
We have these great little boxes. Hey, do we have any of those boxes? The H.264 box. Do we have one of those unconnected to something? I don't think we were using them tonight. I just want to show you this box because it's a magical little box. In the pre-show, I'm afraid I was being a little hard on Blackmagic on their cards, but they're but this let's see if I can. This is the H.264 recorder Pro. So they made this one on a USB. Are we going to zoom in on this, or are we not going to zoom in on this? Am I pointing to the right thing here? Someone going to zoom in on me?
Somebody zoom.
There we go. So, so this little box here, what this does is just connects to USB to your, it's just USB to your computer. But you have an SDI,
Straight to, yep.
SDI or HDMI, or you can even do analog. You can either do component or composite, and then you can also add audio. So the cool thing about this little guy is you plug this in, and then you use their little Media Express card or whatever or software, and you can record straight to 5 megabit, 8 megabit, 10 megabit, whatever you want, straight to your drive. So now you have this file that you could upload to, straight to YouTube.
Right.
Except for one thing. The header, or the footer, one or the other, head or tail, is going to have all of the. It's going to have a whole bunch of the indexing for all the frames and audio and everything else. So if you do any cutting on that H.264 file, you cut like 2 seconds off the front of it to snip it up, clean it up a little bit.
It has to be re-rendered.
It has to be re-rendered because otherwise it will the audio will drop out of sync. So that's why I was my questioning about this is that we're always trying to, when we're recording with this, usually what we're trying to do is make a really fast turn to YouTube in minutes, and it doesn't take minutes, it takes hours because we have to recompress it, because every time we make a change, there's a thing called AVI, I think AVI Mux or AVI Demux. It's like an open source that's supposed to do it, and it just crashes all the time. So anyway, that's why I was asking. And
I'm trying something right now.
You're doing a test?
I'm doing, while you were doing that, I'm doing a test to make sure that everything I'm saying is legit.
You're taking a
I just when I'm
right.
I just think it says test up there, right?
By the way, while
it'll take 2 seconds. But you know what that your sister there, Annie, she is I went into the original media folder.
Okay.
And I know that's H.264 because you shot that on your 7D, right?
Really get info on this.
Right. So what I want to do
is one clip that wasn't edited at all. Go ahead.
Well, right. I went to the original media folder.
Right,
so this is H.264.
I understand.
This is the moment of truth, is it not?
Yeah, it would be. If I would expect this to be H.264.
Nope. ProRes.
Well, let's see.
Wow.
This is, what's that say?
It's ProRes.
ProRes.
Okay, see. I felt a little bit on the.
You're right.
Here's what's interesting. I was talking to someone at Apple, and it's like, you think about it. If you put an H.264, forget that I was talking to someone at Apple. I'm just talking to somebody, and you put something in the timeline, and you would think it's this H.264 to come out, but no, it comes out as ProRes. Unless you override it in that pop-up. And I've just proved that you work in H.264, it still comes out as ProRes. Right. So why not turn it into ProRes?
Okay.
Exactly. Someone at Apple and just said, "Oh my gosh, it's not supposed to be doing that." No, I don't know. I don't know, but there it is, right there.
Okay, there we go. Well, if anyone at Apple is watching this, we would love to have a smart H.264 editor because it would really make our life easier when we want to do fast turns.
But just to kind of summarize, the export media command, the general idea is that it exports whatever the codec is of your sequence settings, and it just takes that media as is normally and just puts it out. So there's no transcoding going on whatsoever. The only exception is if you've got H.264 media in there.
It fixes it for you.
It fixes it for you.
Only using the export media command. I mean,
only export media. Any of the share commands,
right?
Yeah, you can use share and look H.264, but that makes sense.
I had to do a little scientific experiment there.
And you did it so well, so fast.
You're good with this live stuff.
Steve, you think you're a scientist? All right, so this comes from, see the thing with the voting, okay, so the funny thing about the people, so by the way, if you're watching, you can ask questions and you can vote on them. And I go to answer one and then people vote another one up, so it ends up something else on the top. So anyway, Mike Hellers, editing in very high-res files. He said in FCS, I was able to import very high-res files, basically time-lapse clips, and then zoom in and create movies that within that high-res clip, resulting in he still got 1080p results. I don't seem to be able to do this in Final Cut 10. The clip seems to get converted straight down to the chosen format of the project, meaning 1080p, and that zooming in from that point results in lower quality.
The answer to that is well, again, let's create a new project so you can see. It's a little plus button here. If you create a project, I wish I could see the interface. There we go. I go back here. There we go. And I click plus. This is what you're actually on. That's an event, not a pause.
But if you brought in a 5K image or a 6K image,
here we go. Exactly. You could go to custom, and what he's referring to, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, so he can see what I'm talking. There's your resolutions right there. 1080. And then these are your max resolutions. Remember, what he's saying is in Final Cut 7, you could set a custom resolution. You can any size, I mean, what size you want. And what he's saying is he's got these big, maybe these raw files that are 51, whatever by, you know, and he wants to do some moves. Can't do that. You can't bring that big file in and work with an odd frame size. Oh, wait a minute. The conform feature, we could show the conform. I mean,
I think, well, I don't know if his question was about bringing in video clips, not images, that are a larger frame size than his sequence settings.
I have an answer for him. This is how you do it. This will freak him out. This is how you do it. What's his name?
Mike.
Mike, this will freak you out, dude. All right, so what I'm going to do is open this up.
In a nice sort of way.
All right, and it'll be awesome. And then you go to the inspector, and this is what you have to do. People don't know it's there. It's there. It's called spatial conform. If you go show, you'll see it says right here. I can't see. It says fit, fill, and none. If you choose none, you get the entire frame, and you get you have the whole image.
There you go.
That's his answer. That's what you do. Sorry for that little sidecar explanation, but that's what you want.
Perfect. But you got to see some other stuff.
Isn't that awesome?
That was awesome.
Well done.
All right. Okay, next
This
question.
is a good show.
It's an awesome show.
You should watch this show. All right. So this is from Eric Beeson. He said, audio attachment. Unrelated to the new release, do audio clips have to be attached to video clips? Can you choose which video clip an audio clip is attached to? I often find when I'm trying to sync up audio and video, the attachment messes me up. The position tool helps. Also, what do you call that visual dongle that connects the audio clip to the video clip?
It's called a connection line.
Connection line.
Yeah, I used to call it a snorkel. You can heretofore call it a
I like to connect my audio snorkel to my video.
But it does look like a snorkel.
It rolls off the tongue a little easier than connection line.
Little connection line. All right, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
He said he just said, do clips have to be attached to video? Do audio clips have to be attached to video clips?
No.
You can, if they already are, you can break them apart.
You can detach them.
You can detach them.
Yeah, you can detach them. Let's see. So let's open this up first. This is a. There we go.
But I guess if the question is, like, if you bring in an audio clip all by itself, you have to attach it to, if it's not on the primary storyline, it has to be attached to something.
That's always going to be connected to something.
It has to be connected to something if it's not in the primary storyline.
But, okay, well,
it has to go where it is.
Okay, read the question one more time. It's like,
unrelated to the new release, do audio clips have to be attached to video clips? Can you choose which video clip an audio clip is attached to? Yes.
Yes. You break apart, like this case, we're gonna break apart clip items, right?
Yep.
Now you already expanded it, right?
Right.
Can you go back and show how you did that?
Well, let's do break apart clip item. Where is it? There.
Break apart clip items.
There it is.
Okay.
Now it's a separate entity, right?
But it still has a snorkel.
When you see the snorkeling, can I zoom in here? Can I do a software zoom? See the snorkel? Now the thing about that is I can take this, and I can then move it and reconnect it to anything else. Okay. Like I want it to say maybe connected to this.
Can you connect to another audio file?
Well,
or
here's
does it have
the
to be a
thing.
video file?
Well, here's the thing. Is like now you're saying, well, I want to. What he's really saying is I want to do what I just did, but I want these now always to be in sync, right?
Right.
And the quickest way to do that is to select them both like this, and which Mark's favorite keyboard shortcut, which is Command G, right? Or new compound or Option G, new compound clip. Where did all my boom. So now. They're essentially together now. You don't have to worry about it. It's now a virtual clip. That's how I would do it.
There you go. Very good. Next question from Chris Tuttle. Background render files, undo history, and low disk space. To support undo, background rendered files are kept around. If the working drive is running low on disk space, is there a way to purge the undo rendered files to recover disk space? How long do undo rendered files persist? And are they automatically cleared on application shutdown? It's a loaded question.
No, it's very simple. If I have do I have anything rendered here? Is there any render bar? I can't tell.
There's no render bar.
Let's throw something on here. And so we're going to select that. And what are we going to do? We're going to say, let's see, render selection, Control R. Actually, it knows. Okay, so what's going to happen is that I'm going to get that rendered. But ultimately, what I wanted to show you is look right here. Where did it go? let's see. See that? Delete event render files.
So that's all of them.
Yeah, it's all of them. Purges all of them. There it is right there.
Per event.
Yeah.
Per event. All right.
Per
so
event.
not per project, per event.
Per event.
But you can do it per event.
Yeah. Because remember, think about it. Where are the render files stored on the hard drive?
In the event folder.
In the event folder.
Yeah.
There's a folder called renders. It's going to purge everything in it. Remember, it's a giant database. So it's associating those render files with an event, not with a project. Okay.
Got it.
We're back to 1,000.
You are. People keep on throwing the curves. He's Noah Albrecht. He said, "Is it realistic to make the current MacBook Air an FCP-friendly workstation? Would it run smoothly, especially with Thunderbolt in place?" So the new, not this one, but the new 11-inch or 13-inch with the Thunderbolt.
I had a guy. I had a guy in LA at my presentation in LA that's running a MacBook Air, Final Cut, and off Thunderbolt monitor, and he says it's freaking rocks.
Wow.
In fact,
he's editing.
Yeah. He's editing with what is it? That Promise Thunderbolt RAID, and he's getting 350 megabytes per second to his MacBook Air. Does that answer your question?
Is the
is there any GPU issues?
Yeah, I was going to wonder about the GPU.
Well, I don't know. I'm just telling you, he's been editing straight cuts, and I don't know if I personally want to edit on an Air.
So straight cuts. But if you're going to start adding effects, it might be probably going to thump down.
Yeah,
a
but
little
if you're doing a straight cut thing, and
but like, and I think this is a good example. I think that one of the areas, like I remember talking to somebody in south of this location about the fact that I was like, iMovie is amazing. It's so fast, and you just want a couple more tools so that reporters in the field could sit there and cut stuff up and add a couple of little things, add some lower thirds, and just chunk up they're shooting a bunch of stuff in the field in Beirut or whatever. And they just need to be able to hack stuff together really quickly and throw a couple extra things on it and then post it. And they were like, yeah, that would be a good idea, and maybe we're doing something, maybe we aren't. And so the that's typically that's the thing. Yeah, we'll think about that. And to me, I think that Final Cut Pro 10 is the perfect solution for that kind of thing. Stuff that's in the field, quick podcast, quick, all those other things are just it is iMovie, but it allows you to cut all that stuff together, and the Air would definitely work with that if you're not adding tons of effects. And, yeah. So everyone got really quiet when I started mentioning anything south of San Francisco. So, but I didn't say anything.
You mean like Santa Barbara?
Yeah, it was Santa Barbara. We were in Santa Barbara. We were having steak and
on the pier.
Yeah, on the pier. Yeah. See, it changed again. See, a lot of voting going on here.
It's what is it, like Q-bids? No.
Yep. This is from Chris Northcross. Having trouble with getting a hard drive to mount in Final Cut 10's event browser. So I have a hard drive that will not mount in Final Cut 10 event browser. I can import files from the drive, but I cannot set an event on the drive. And if I copy an event from another drive, Final Cut 10 will not recognize or load the event into the browser.
Format.
That drive needs to be reformatted.
It might not be an HFS Plus format.
He's got to reformat the drive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Next question from Connor Crosby. This one keeps on coming up. I don't know if he keeps on asking or whether or not deleting it, but
what do I want for
more
Christmas?
than one role. Yeah. No. That was the more than one role. The next one's from Shane Smith. Is this a good Mac Pro? 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Intel 7 processor, 8 gigs of memory, 512 gigabyte hard drive, solid state, and a Radeon 6750 1 gigabyte. You're just showing off. That's all I gotta say. 1 gigabyte GDDR5 video memory. I think it's a pretty good.
Sounds good to me.
That's good.
I'm not familiar with that card. 67 Radeon 6750.
I think it's one of the bigger Radeons. So here's the thing I will say is that I'm not. I don't know if I should say this. I'm really not that big of a fan of the Radeon cards.
Do you like it Radeon or AT?
Well, motion works better on the Radeon cards.
Oh, really? Better than the NVIDIA?
On the ATI, yes.
Okay.
That's my experience. It may be different now, but and like the 5770s, nice card. But when we put 4870s. We were doing that project on that feature film, and it was great. And those have gone to 5870s, and those are good cards.
Okay. Because I've been really leaning towards like the Quadra 4000, 4800, which are expensive cards.
Yeah, those are very expensive cards.
But I feel like
Are you getting good performance out of those?
Yeah.
I mean, because I've heard they're not that great for motion or Final Cut. For the price, like because you're paying what, 8 times as much.
Here's the thing is that I do a lot of stuff with them. So what I notice is I don't know if it's always just Final Cut. I think that part of it is I'm thinking about the 3D applications and other things that I feel like run a little bit better on NVIDIA. The way, and we also write stuff to GPU, and so the way NVIDIA handles stuff is a little bit from a production perspective tends to be a little bit more sane. ATI I feel like is a much better game card. It chops everything up into little pieces, and the way it manages it all, it's just very hard to manage from a visual effects perspective. So anyway, so there you go.
Sounds like a good machine to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a great machine for Christmas. Yeah, first Mac before Christmas. Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that that was a title. Yeah. The only thing I'll say is that the reason we have older Macs right now. They're not the newest Macs. They haven't been released this year. We are desperately hanging on, waiting for Thunderbolt. Like we're just like, I don't want to buy any more machines. I know the moment I buy them,
the Thunderbolt's going to come out.
The Thunderbolt's going to come out, and that's the only thing that's holding us up. We need to upgrade our machines. We know we need to upgrade them, and we're not upgrading them because
Thunderbolt.
But Thunderbolt won't come out until you upgrade them, and that you're holding all the rest of us back.
Yeah,
so you go ahead and upgrade.
We get Leo. We have to get Leo to upgrade. That's the key. Is tell him that his editors need it, and then we'll be set. Rotoscoping. This is from Chris Northcross. This is the first time I've owned a Mac with graphics card fast enough to run motion. I like what I can do with it so far, but I'm not having a lot of luck with rotoscoping tools so far. Any tips or suggestions outside of doing it in Shake or After Effects? Motion's not really.
Mocha.
Mocha.
Motion's not a rotoscoping tool. Yes. You can do it, but
it's not right.
It's painful.
No,
Mocha.
Mocha's the easiest one to get. I mean,
Mocha 2 comes with the After Effects CS.
Yeah, it's Mocha's.
5.
Does it come
5.
Yeah, it's Mocha's.
Mocha's comes with After Effects CS5.
Yeah. Mocha. How do you delete roles? So is it possible to delete the custom roles? I do not see a minus or delete button. Command delete doesn't.
That's what we were talking about. Is everything
once you're committed?
Here's the thing about that. You aren't committed. You can delete them. But here's the thing: you have to make sure that those roles aren't assigned to any clips.
So you mean if you make a new role, you can delete it?
The thing is, here, look at my timeline. Let's say that's a role, a sub role, and I got that same sub role on this. I can't delete it until both those sub roles have been removed and replaced by a different role. In other words, the clip kind of holds on to it.
So there's a level of removing a role from a clip.
He's talking about this.
But you're talking about removing a role from Final Cut, so it's no longer listed as a role.
He's talking about, let's clarify, I think, like if you want to get rid of that role, he's saying there's no minus button.
Right.
Which I think would be handy. Okay. Yeah. There's no minus button. What I'd like to see is a minus button, and if that role was applied to a bunch of clips, you click minus, a dialog would come up that would say, you're about to delete a role off of a bunch of clips.
They're going to be confused, they're going to be aimless.
And what do you want to reassign it to?
What do you want to reassign it to? Yeah, I mean, that would ideally be the thing, but here's the thing. In order to actually delete that role has to be removed, or not. You can't remove a role. You have to reassign it.
Assign it something else.
So assign it something else. Then you should be able to select that and press delete. And
just press the delete key.
Delete key.
Yeah. That's a very good tip.
Very nice. MacBook video memory. Steve Martin is 1 gigabyte of dedicated graphics card memory good enough memory for a 17-inch, or should I request more? I remember in your last class you said 2 was enough for an iMac. I
have in my iMac at home a 1 gigabyte of VRAM, and it's plenty. It's very happy.
But you should still request more.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
It's not like the government to still request more.
I mean, you have to request all of it.
You can never have too much
if you're making
memory
a request,
or hard drive space.
Yeah, exactly.
Or tax revenue.
So yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Final Cut 7, we always put media on a separate drive from the startup. Is that still necessary with Final Cut 10?
It's recommended. Yes. I mean, I've even in my Final Cut training and my DVD. Excuse me, my DVD. Did I say that? Yeah. What's a DVD? I always recommend media on a separate drive, and it's performance-wise, managing. I don't like the idea of media files commingling with my operating system, and yeah.
Got to keep
Definitely,
them
definitely
separated.
get it separated.
You know, by the all of our towers, you know, standard, like when we get a tower, the standard thing is you just buy 3 regular off-the-shelf 7200 RPM drives. They can be as big as you want. I mean, it's easier to get a 2 gig or a 1.5 gig, but you can get 3 gig. I'm sorry, terabyte, not gig. Yeah, I got a 1 gig drive. It's crazy fast. I can't put anything on it, but it's crazy fast. So 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte, whatever you want. But you put 3 of them in. You just fill the extra 3 slots, and then just go into software. Don't go out and buy a card. I mean, you can, but it's like $1,000 to get a RAID card. So just go into the software thing and RAID them, and you're gonna get 300 megs a second. Now just put all your media on there. Now the one thing you do is we name them. You'll notice them all named. I think it's probably one on here.
Scary RAID.
Yeah, Scary RAID.
See, there's you can always tell Scary RAID 1. See Scary RAID? That's to remind everybody that if one of those drives fails, yeah, your project's gone. Yeah. So that gets into whole backing things up and everything else. But
Scary RAID.
But 1. We call them Scary RAIDs because all of them. You'll see Scary RAIDs all over all these machines because we don't want to, you know.
They're a bunch of JBODs is what they are.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's a good thing. So.
Just to clarify on that, because by default, Final Cut is going to want to put your media on the movies folder on your boot drive, but you can choose to put it wherever you want. Just so people know, it's going to by default put it there, but you can choose to target where you want.
We have stereo audio. How do you separate left and right stereo audio channels?
It's easy.
He's
right here, select this.
Softball.
Select that, right click, and choose break apart clip items. Oops. Ooh. Okay. What just happened there? Break apart clip items.
We're just leaning forward.
I can't.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah,
that is it. It's easy. Here, let me just undo that little step right there. So that's one clip there. I want to make sure that's stereo.
Inspector, what does it say?
I can't see. Configuration channels. I can't even see that.
It's great over. I don't think it's stereo. I think that's your problem.
I think that's a problem. So basically, what you do, I thought this. I
know
there. Look, wait. I know these are. I know these are. I know these are.
Stereo.
What was?
That last
one you're selected. That's stereo also.
That's stereo.
All right. Control V. Break apart. This is. That's interesting. I should be seeing 2 separate channels right now. How about let me just test it on this one. There we go. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. You break apart, and if there's two separate channels, it will break it apart into 2 separate items, left and right.
Perfect. Help from Alex. Oh wow, thanks, Sean. Sean Pokome. He said, couldn't you just slip up a clip and then assign different roles to each, and then export them as separate files to split them up? Easier than compressor. Not sure if that'll work. So that's what so could you have a bunch of video files that you just set up as, gave them different roles?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably would work.
I haven't tried it, but that sounds very compelling.
Yeah, it does.
Sure does.
Who was that?
That was actually, you know what, that's
not a bad idea.
I'm going to try that as soon as I get back to the hotel tonight. If it is like Sean, that's awesome.
That's a good idea.
Think about here, I'm just gonna write
yeah, exactly. Well done. We'll send you the quarter is in the mail. So good job. Mac Pro. I don't. This is from Shane Smith. I don't trust Best Buy as I know they've sold refurbished goods. Should I buy a Mac Pro from them? So here's the deal.
We were at Best Buy today.
Today we were at Best Buy.
Because I needed a quick. I needed a.
I was just buying a computer at Best Buy today.
that would not happen. That story's not happening. I needed a compact flash drive for downloading media.
How does that work for you?
You know, I'm not a big fan, but it's there, and I need it in an emergency. And you're going to pay, and you need to know what you want, and you're just going to pay extra for it. But if you go there and you don't know what you want, you're not going to get the help you need, in my experience.
They do sell FireWire drives.
You have questions? We have blank stares.
I think Best Buy is about the only place, the only general place other than Apple that sells FireWire drives.
I've seen them in Walmart.
Compact flash FireWire drives, or
just
FireWire drives?
Just FiRWire drives. Yeah, I've seen them
drives
at least in Prescott and Walmart. Yeah, they're FireWire drives there.
Sorry, anyway.
And then they sell really nice 12-gauge bird shotguns too. But oh, sorry.
I would
That's a whole other show.
Yeah, that's another show.
Apple Store.
All right.
I prefer 10 gauge. Anyway, so the conform bug. If I synchronize clip with dual audio, then the spatial conform does not allow reframing from 1080 to a lower resolution project. It works fine if I manually sync the audio.
I'm not sure the workflow, what he's talking about.
He said, if I synchronize a clip with dual audio, then the spatial conform does not allow reframing from 1080 to a lower resolution project. It works fine if I manually sync the audio. Is this a bug? So if he says this audio...
It sounds like it. I'd have to test it. I can't speak to that, but it does sound like it shouldn't do that.
Right.
You know what might be interesting is have him write it up and send it to me, and I'll test it.
It's Bob Ryden.
Yeah, so just send it to steve@rippletrading.com. Just write it up, and I'll run a test, because you know I regularly send stuff to Apple saying this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and I'd like to see that.
Okay, please send it. This is from Brian Reiter. I have some old mini DV footage that I've re-imported and digitized from the GL2 and XL1 that has black bars on the left and right, which is fine if you're publishing to TV, but doesn't work for the web. Is there any way to easily remove those bars from all the clips in one go?
You could select all of them, put them in the compound clip,
and scale
it, and then use the 2D transform controls, and then do a slight little do a crop on it.
You can do a crop on it, right? Yeah. Or if he's putting that into a 16:9 project and getting the black bars to go to that, maybe he just needs a project setting that matches the DV.
I know what he's talking about. I mean,
because
especially
they're real thin.
They leave a little thin black line on
yeah.
either side. I remember,
Okay.
So, the other thing too is if you're going out to the web, this is where I just came out with a compressor tutorial. There's a whole thing. You can do it in compressor. Right? You can. Oh my gosh, compressor has awesome cropping controls.
Right.
You can make movies any size you want on the output. I mean, and they have a fantastic crop tool to crop. You can go in and once the movie's in there, you just go in and set the cropping boundaries. You can save them as presets and everything, and then when it makes the movie, those bars won't be there.
And you can upload them to YouTube with all your. I do that.
Well, actually, there's YouTube.
It's like one of my favorite. Yeah. When you go into compressor, you could just say, I want to export to YouTube as an operation at the very end, or Vimeo, or a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, it's an action.
It's an action, so it does the whole compression, and then it uploads it.
And it uploads it, yeah.
And you can put all your credentials in, and let me tell you, when you've got 8 of these things, and it's 11 o'clock at night, it is so awesome, because you just sit there and you set them all up, then you go to bed.
Yeah.
And I had someone talk to me about it because they were waiting for them, and they saw all these published dates on YouTube, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. And I talked to them the next day, and they were like, you didn't have to work on it all night. And I was like,
are you kidding me?
I didn't. I was like, yeah.
Oh, I thought you would say, you're an important client.
Yeah, I should have gone like this. I should have gone like this. Really? Oh, so anyway, exactly. All right. Next question is from Eric Emmerich. Can I change the default scope that appears when I open that window?
No. That would be, I agree. I would like to see that too.
Yeah. No.
Very good. Next question from Michael Roberts. Back to default project attributes. If I'm not working with surround audio clips, would it be beneficial to change the default from surround to stereo?
Not really.
I do.
Why is that?
I don't know. Because I'm not working this surround, I don't know why. That's because I'm working with stereo.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, all of the audio is handled internally, everything's handled internally is a Dolby.
Right.
And so if there's not if you're not actually outputting a surround, it'll just properly downmix it to left and right anyway. You're going to get left and right at the end of the day anyway.
Right.
So why take the extra step? I don't.
Using frame rates lower than 15 frames a second, can I use media that runs slower than 15 frames a second in Final Cut 10?
Well, you have what are called native frame rates that Final Cut really is happy with. You know, the 24s or 23.9/8s and the 60s. And
is there any way to custom?
Let's take a quick look. I think
it's going to force it to. It's not going to conform. It's just going to render it.
Yeah, I mean the thing is I'm going to go ahead.
So if you brought it in, it would
just. I think it would just add frames. If you put
15
frames per second in a 30.
These are your frame rates right there. Those are the native frame rates that Final Cut is happy with.
So it's going to find a way to get to those.
You can't. Yeah, you're not going to be able to say, hey, I want 15 frame rate, 15 frames per second.
Right.
It's going to use one of those.
Okay, very
They're
good.
video-friendly frame rates.
We only have one more question. It was really would like to join the Pixel Core. Any hints on when I will be able to do this? Very soon. Very soon. But we'll close right now because we're doing some. We're just taking care of the current members that we have. We're doing some reorg right now with some of the stuff, and so we're not. You know what it has to do with, not so much the current services. It mostly has to do with I want to have better starting things, so when people join, they actually. You know, we tend to be like, we just throw you into the deep water and then no one talks about it. And you're like, bloop, bloop,
A little bit of hand holding.
Yeah, where is, and so we're working on some videos for that. And so we've been doing so much production that we haven't had time to do our own stuff. So that's going to be coming up in October, November. So stay tuned for that. It'll be happening very soon. And if you have any other questions, you're going to have to ask soon because we're about to
go dark.
I don't see those questions. Hold on, let me see. I'll refresh here. Oh.
There's more questions?
No, these questions I already did. We already answered those questions. Yeah.
So we silenced the
anything
question.
else? Do we miss anything?
Well, last thing is the camera API.
Oh, really?
There's a new API. They published an API for camera manufacturers.
Right.
So, like for example, you can work with native XT-Cam, right? It just simply uses their utility and it just rewraps it in a QuickTime wrapper.
Right.
But you're working with native XT-Cam. But the thing the extra step that's involved right now in that is, well, you've got to open the utility and then transfer. Wouldn't it be nice if the camera had their API and they could write to it, and then you just, when you plug in the S/S card, boom, it all shows up in the import window.
Right.
And if you think about it, this is, I was just saying this last night in LA, camera manufacturers should be doing that. Apple shouldn't be writing that. A camera should. I mean, if you're a Red or you're a Panasonic, you should have that API, and you should be, as soon as boom.
And Apple's been a little closed in other areas
Yes.
related to that. So it is great to see that they're opening that up and making it possible.
Well, that opens up the fact that, like, maybe Red will write an API so you can get the native RFID.
And then they can decide how far they want to take it and what they want to do, and if it's not,
they can write their own debearer or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
So
they already have.
Yeah. Apple shouldn't have to write their own debearer.
There's nothing like. I often dream about that on the weekend. I think
Writing
I'm
a
going to
debearer.
No debearer.
No, I'm not going to just write it. If I'm going to write a debearer, I'm going to write a debearer. You know, that's I'm
one step further.
Yeah. I'm cornering the market to deberer. You know, that's
exactly.
You know, that's the key to the operation. So.
I think that's the.
I didn't see that question. Hold on. Oh, it didn't. You know what's funny is it's not showing up. That's an interesting bug we have in popular ideas.
What's
okay,
that?
so it wasn't showing up. Currently, if I drop an effect on a clip and then retime the clip, the effect is applied after the clip has been retimed. Is there a way to have the effect applied to the clip before it's retimed? Would that be a compound clip? Would you make a compound clip and then apply the effect to it?
I don't think it's going to do it. You could try it. I haven't done it, but I don't think you can. The way it affects.
Yeah, I don't think
the fact is, you may have noticed that there are no retiming effects from motion into Final Cut because it's too effects are applied to the duration of a clip, and if the effects are animated, they're animated based on the duration of the clip. And you can set them by a loop end marker to have a certain speed, but you can't do retiming effects because it's very complicated how they'd have to figure out how to recalculate
there's no
themselves.
retiming effects in motion now?
No. The retiming effects can't be used in Final Cut Pro.
Right.
They're not going to work properly, so there's not available to do that.
I see.
Yeah, so I suspect the answer is no to this, but I haven't tried it. And isn't a good idea to try to get around the order of operations by doing essentially nesting first.
Right.
I suspect it won't work because of that.
Yeah.
That's the problem. November 3rd.
3 November.
Yes, this is from Robert Bale. He said, back again, sent you a tweet. Oh, sorry. Maybe I think I responded to this. Looking forward to it. Do we have any info on Canon November 3rd?
Well, they have a big announcement in Hollywood, and it's interesting they chose that venue.
And
I don't think I'm going to speculate. I don't think it's going to be a DSLR. I think it's going to be. It's going to be a video camera.
And not only, here's the scoop. Not only have they done that, they have built an entire studio in Hollywood. Like they've built this whole Canon, whatever, and people were like, I can't believe they built that whole thing. It's right next to the. It happens to be right around the block, and I just can't think of it.
Center
exactly.
Studios.
What?
Right near Center Studios, Center Stage.
It's right where the Dexter set is, or near it, because I saw it on the map. Like it was like a Google Map thing, and there was like but Canon has a I just can't think of the. I want to say Gower. Is it the Gower Studios?
Gower Studios, maybe.
I think so. Anyway, so the but Canon has built out this huge stage and all kinds of other stuff to show off something, and people were like, I can't believe they're doing that for SLRs. Yeah, they're not.
No.
Yeah, the rumor is that it's a 4K camera. This is the rumors that are floating around. 4K camera uses EOS lenses. There is an option for the base is $10,000 to $12,000. There's an option for 444, which is another $2,000 or $3,000. It is directed. It's got some kind of raw capture, but it also has 3G, 444 out, and it is and ProRes and everything else. But the rumor is that it's really a video camera aimed at F3, and that's that. I mean, squarely at the Scarlett F3, so on and so forth. So it's it's supposed to. I've talked to a couple people that have said don't buy a camera until
you've seen this,
until you've seen whatever this is. They didn't have a date. I heard about this earlier in the summer. They didn't have a date, but they were just like, you're gonna want to wait, because I was really after playing with an F3, I was kind of like, I might need to buy something. I always get that urge, and but they said you might want to wait until you see this. So anyway, so that's the rumor that's floating around right now, but we don't know. Maybe I've oversold it. Maybe it'll come out as 1080p. I don't think.
Well, it's interesting.
I don't think you could release a revolutionary camera at this point that was 1080p. I think Red has kind of ruined that for everybody.
Yeah.
I think
it's because of their debearer.
They debearer, yeah. And I'm very excited about seeing what the Scarlett looks like, which sounds like it's going to be very close to the same release date, as far as at least some announcements that they're going to start shipping those. And I've been very excited about the Scarlett, so we'll see how that goes. We were supposed to be shooting with an Epic tomorrow, but some of the stuff we were shooting isn't
pushed
ready
out.
Yet. So sometime
we will.
October. What?
We will.
Later this month, we're gonna shoot with an Epic. So which I'm.
It's going to be epic.
It is going to be epic.
It's going to be an epic of epicness.
Because we're using an Epic.
You can now rent an Epic at borrowlenses.com.
You can?
It's on their site. Yep.
You can rent an Epic.
We use Borrow Lenses for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just saw they added Epic to.
Well, yeah,
amazing.
I get a Philip Bloom slider off of.
Did we? Joe? Do you have? What is it? You got the Cine slider, so we'll be able to compare them.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that'll be good. So that'll be good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we've run to the. Oh, this is a different one. Just to make sure this is known. If you upload a stereo project to YouTube, it will have random pops in the audio, so you'll have to make the project stereo to stop that. Oh, if you upload a stereo project, I guess I'm saying a surround project, to YouTube, it will have random pops in it, so you have to make the project stereo to stop that. Wow.
Oh, didn't know that. Okay, maybe there's a reason.
Sean Pokemate. He's been hot. He's the one that had the fix for the...
using the rolls.
Yeah, using the rolls.
Nice, Sean.
So
Nice, Sean.
Sean is,
all right, Sean, you're rolling.
Right
You got an extra seat for Sean right here.
Yeah, exactly. We'll bring you on. So the next week we're talking about photography. Next week we're doing live.
This week in TWIP.
This week it's TWIP Live.
TWIP Live.
And 2 weeks from now we're doing Gear Media Tech, and we're going to talk about hardware. We'll probably talk about stuff like this. We may be talking about the Pix 240, which is a recording device. But generally we'll be having kind of a discussion around more physical stuff.
Yep.
Steve Martin, where can people find you?
rippletraining.com. We have a bunch of tutorials on Final Cut 10 and motion. And we're publishing free motion effects, essentially effects for Final Cut transitions, titles, generators every Monday. We put up a really cool one this week on a color balance effect, so you can color balance your footage using the Apple Color Picker. It's awesome.
Very nice. And Mark, where can people find you?
applemotion.net, and for everything motion related. And if they want to follow what we're doing, we've got shootthecrush.tumblr.com, where we're sort of blogging what we're doing and what we're learning on the whole process.
This is for the stuff we're shooting tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you very, very much to everyone who tuned in and asked questions and participated. And we'll see you next week on the live series, the Bitscore Live series, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then.